Welcome to this episode of Cook at Home. I'm Mattia and today I'm going to keep you company as we create a fantastic recipe together. If you are here for the first time, let me introduce myself. I'm an Italian chef with a passion for home cooking and a desire to share my love for cooking with everyone who has the same passion. My partner George and I created Cook at Home to bring our culinary knowledge to anyone who wants to learn new techniques and discover tasty dishes to prepare at home. We are excited to share this culinary journey with you, so get ready to dive into the kitchen and have fun with us. Welcome to the kitchen. A few evenings ago, someone who was a guest of mine, after eating, said to me, if I know how to cook such good food, I too would cook at home more often. This got me thinking. Could this be one of the reasons why people prefer to spend money in any restaurant rather than cooking at home? Well, it could be. Let's say that when something is good, it is good. But it's also true that everyone has their own personal taste, due to their different geographical origins, culture and traditions. Precisely for this reason, knowing how to cook, knowing one's own favorite flavors can be a turning point. In Italy, we have a strong culinary tradition, and when we cook, we often get great results, because good food is a strong part of our culture. Living in Australia, I have noticed that most people not only don't know how to cook, they don't even know what they like to eat. This is a big problem. Why? Simple. Those who don't know their taste, or at least don't like to experiment to learn new things, fell easy prey to junk food. The first enemy of health first and creativity second. If you know you have all the food you want, when you want it, at your fingerprints, you will find it very difficult to find the right motivation to start cooking. Now, we at Cook at Home have decided to embrace the desire of all those people who want to learn how to cook, even starting from scratch, to create their own style of cooking that they can be proud of. So, if you are curious about what we can create by combining knowledge, tradition, and a bit of creativity, get comfortable, because we are about to start the recipe for meatball with sauce, with a little trick that will make them super soft and tasty. Feel free to reproduce it and then modify it to suit your taste. Let's get started. The ingredients we will use today are Roma tomato, which must be ripe so they can give extra sweetness to the sauce, extra virgin olive oil, and 4 garlic cloves. First, we boil some water in a pot large enough to contain all the tomatoes. To facilitate the peeling of the tomatoes, we can make some incisions on the top. When all the tomatoes are cut, we can parboil them for 1 minute. In the meantime, we prepare a bowl with water and ice to cool down the tomatoes when ready. When we see that the skin of the tomatoes start to come off, we pick them up and place them in the cold bowl we prepared before. After all the tomatoes are in, we let them cool down for a few seconds. We take 2 bowls, one for the tomatoes and one for the scraps. Peel the tomatoes by removing the skin with the help of a paring knife. The tomatoes should be firm and cold, as if they haven't been cooked at all. After we finish peeling all the tomatoes, we can start cutting them. The first thing to do is to remove the stem. We cut each tomato in half and then into 6 pieces. The shape or the size of the pieces is not essential, given that we are going to cook them. Now we heat the oil in a small pan and add the garlic when the pan gets hot enough. We fry it for a few seconds, and when the oil starts to sizzle, we add the tomatoes. We can cover and leave to cook for about 20 minutes at medium-low temperature, being careful not to burn the bottom of the pan and turning them occasionally. At this point, when we see that the pulp of the tomatoes is soft, the tomatoes will be cooked, and we can pass them through the masher or blend them. As you can see, I decided to keep the garlic inside because I think it gives a good taste to the sauce that we are going to use later for the meatballs. If you prefer a thicker sauce, you can eliminate the water created in the bowl as soon as you pour the tomatoes into the masher. Or continue to cook the tomatoes uncovered until the excess water evaporates. Once the sauce is ready, there will probably be some seeds, so I decide to strain the sauce before reducing it further. Then, with a spoon, we pour the sauce down. As you can see, there will be seeds left in the sieve. We sieve everything through and reduce it again over moderate heat, letting the sauce simmer. The final consistency will depend on your personal taste. Don't add salt at this stage, we will fix the taste later. For the meatball, we need 500 grams of ground beef, 200 grams of sausage, Parmesan and Pecorino cheese 50 grams each, 2 eggs, 100 grams of milk, 4 slices of white bread or stale bread, the tomato sauce we made earlier, some parsley, olive oil and 200 ml of beef stock. We first remove the outside of the bread and then cut into pieces. The bigger the pieces, the less liquid they absorb. I decided to cut them in 2 large pieces because I like to properly feel the bread when I prepare the dough. However, be careful not to soften them too much, as the dough could become difficult to handle. Put the bread in a bowl, add the milk and let it soak for a few minutes, so that the bread absorbs the milk. In the meantime, we can chop the parsley. I like to always sharpen the knife before I use it. It's safer and makes cutting way easier. Now that my knife is ready, I can start cutting the parsley. I will not cut it too finely, because I prefer to taste it inside the meatballs. We will go through the cutting techniques in other videos. Now, take the sausage and remove the skin. Make an incision in the back and remove the skin from the meat. Take a large, reasonably wide bowl and put in the meat first, so sausage and beef. Then the bread, which we will squeeze. The parsley. the cheeses, and finally the eggs, making sure that no shells fall inside the dough. We start to knead with our hands, pressing the dough between our palms to mix the ingredients. Add pepper and salt to the dough and continue mixing. The dough is now ready. Now, let's proceed with forming the balls. First, we wet our hands in a small bowl with water to prevent the dough from sticking to our palms and help us shape the meatballs. Then, we take a piece of dough and work it between our hands to compact it. We can choose whatever size we want. Just remember that the bigger they are, the more time it will take for them to cook. We form the meatballs by turning the ball of dough between our palms and proceed through the whole dough like this. Once the meatballs are ready, heat some oil in a large pan and add the meatballs to brown them. When the meatballs are brown, we can turn them. They will probably lose their shape a little bit, but don't worry, because if they do, it means that they will be soft in the end. When the meatballs are browned evenly, we can add the beef stock to give them more flavor and let the stock thicken for a couple of minutes. Add the tomato sauce and bring to boil. Cook for 20 minutes until the meatballs are cooked through, depending on the size of the meatballs, and the sauce is of the consistency you like most. When the meatballs are ready, you can decide whether the sauce has been reduced to the right consistency, and then you can serve them on a plate. Let's move on to the serving. First the meatballs, and then the tomato sauce. Add some Parmesan cheese and finally some toasted bread for our famous scarpetta. Our meatballs with tomato sauce are now ready to eat. Today's recipe is ready. I can't wait to sit down and have a glass of red wine while I enjoy my meatballs. Before you jump into the kitchen, like the video and subscribe to the channel, from which new videos will be released soon. Also, if you want to get to know us better and get more free information on the world of home cooking, join our Facebook page, where you will find me and many others like us with a passion for good food and cooking. Ciao!